All right. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jennifer Vendetti, Chair of the Board of Directors for Postpartum Support International Connecticut Chapter. And today is a special day. Jess and I want to ground us all a little bit in where we are in time and space around maternal mental health. So it's May. You wouldn't know it by looking outside. Don't bother to do that. May is Maternal Mental Health Month. So we've had a series of really important awareness days this month. Today is Postpartum Psychosis Awareness Day. I'm going to be sharing some important resources with you on the back end of our talk on the Reach Fund of Connecticut. Jess, you were saying that yesterday
was Termination for Medical Reasons Awareness Day, which I did not know. I am a person who had a termination for medical reasons, so we'll get into that. But so it's coincidental timing.
It's synchrony. It's synchrony. Thank you. That's wonderful. And today is also celebrating Midwives Day as well. And if there are other celebration days that you want to put in the chat, please do so. Last year in June 2022, the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. That was the law of the land for almost 50 years. Access to women's health care, which of course includes perinatal mental health care, obstetrical care, prenatal care, birth care, abortion care, really has been a constant battle. Constant battle. And so today we come together to talk about and be in solidarity with this feminist issue, this social justice issue, this component of reproductive justice issues. And I want to welcome you, Jess, co-founder of the Reach Fund of Connecticut, to the PSI Connecticut community. Welcome, Jess.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's really great to chat with all of you today. So my name is Jess Puck. As Jen said, I use she, her pronouns, and I am one of the founders of the Reach Fund of Connecticut, which is Connecticut's Abortion Access Fund. Reach stands for Reproductive Equity, Access, and Choice. I am also a person who has had an abortion. I had a second trimester abortion in the fall of 2016 for a pregnancy that was very wanted. We'd been going through infertility treatments, trying to get pregnant. And unfortunately, we found out early in the second trimester that there were physical and chromosomal abnormalities, and we elected to terminate the pregnancy. I was extraordinarily lucky. I have health insurance. I had a $75 copay. It was done at Stanford Hospital by my doctor. I didn't have to deal with waiting periods or protesters or anything like that. It was pretty seamless, the process of getting the abortion. And at the same time, it was the worst day of my life. It was a true loss. And I am still learning a lot about how to balance that, the loss and the grief, and also, knowing that that was the right decision to make for me, for my family. And so that's part of what I'm going to talk about here today is how we can support the mental health of abortion patients in a way that's validating and helpful. Let's see. So a little bit about the Reach Fund. Like I said, we're an abortion access fund serving Connecticut. We provide financial assistance for abortion care. Here we work directly with our Connecticut clinics. There are 14 Planned Parenthood clinics and one independent clinic. and we provide them with a funding source that they can draw from when patients need help paying for their abortion care. And then the clinic's bill reach directly for whatever they've used that month. We were founded in the summer of 2021, and we spent about a year building the organization, figuring out how we're going to operate, talking to other funds around the country, talking to providers. And we launched our fundraising campaign 10 days before the Dobbs decision came out back last June, with a goal of raising $50,000 to get us started funding abortion here in Connecticut. And we raised that in about 4 months. And so we have been funding abortion here since last October. And to date, we have funded just over 80 patients, which is fantastic, because abortion is healthcare, and healthcare is a human right. And so we work to break down barriers to care. A lot of times in Connecticut, people will say to us, well, it's legal here. It is legal here, and it's much more protected than in a lot of other states. And at the same time, legal does not equal accessible. If 38% of Connecticut households can't afford an unexpected expense, they're living paycheck to paycheck, they're living below the poverty line. So while we have a lot of wealth here in Connecticut, we also have a lot of poverty.
Yes.
And so we work to break down financial barriers, but there are many others. So we do have a long way to go as far as making sure that abortion access in Connecticut is accessible. So for abortion patients and mental health, I think we all know here that feelings are feelings. Feelings are valid. We can have lots of different feelings all at the same time. And patients who have abortions may experience a wide range of emotions after their abortion. They might feel relief, grief, empowerment, shame, happiness, sadness, anything in between, all at the same time. But what's important, can you see my screen? Or did that go away?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. The little green circle went away. Sorry. 5 years after an abortion, 95% of people report that they feel that they made the right decision. That is from the Turnaway study, which, if you have not heard of the Turnaway study, it was done by University of California, San Francisco over a 10-year period, where they interviewed and followed up with people who were unable to obtain a wanted abortion. And they also followed people who were able to obtain a wanted abortion, and they followed up with them over 10 years to see what the impact of either being able to get the abortion or not being able to get the abortion was like on their lives. It's fascinating. It's very in-depth. So yeah, 95% of people who had an abortion feel that they made the right decision. So one thing that I definitely want to, and I'm going to say this over and over again, abortion itself is not inherently sad or traumatic. Abortion it's healthcare. It's a healthcare procedure, or it's done with medication. What can be sad or traumatic are circumstances that we're in when we need the abortion. And we'll talk a little bit about this. So I definitely want to stress that. I like this quote. In fact, the best predictor of a woman's mental health after an abortion is her mental health before the abortion. I do want to point out, not all who can get pregnant or have an abortion identify as women, but that's the way this quote was. So abortion is a life event that may have varying significance for each patient. Everyone's unique. Everyone's abortion experience is unique. Everyone's circumstances are unique. And so the act of an abortion itself is not inherently anything. It just is. I love this quote so much. Most people are not questioning their decision to have an abortion, but struggling to process it and place it in the narrative of their own lives in a way that feels comfortable. This is where I was. We wanted that pregnancy very badly. We went through infertility treatment. Finding out that there were problems with the pregnancy was devastating. And at the same time, I have never regretted that decision. I know with 100% of my heart and soul that it was the right decision. But obviously I struggled with it. There was grief involved. There was confusion. There was relief. There were a lot of different emotions that went with my abortion. But never once did I question if I made the right decision or not, because I know that I did. So what might contribute to someone's feelings about their abortion? We have stigma, internal and external. And I really didn't realize until I really started processing my abortion recently. And, it's been 6.5 years, how much internalized stigma I had. I grew up Catholic, Irish Catholic. I have not been a practicing Catholic since high school. But it's amazing how much you internalize with things like religion, your faith, your culture. So there's that internal stigma that we feel inside, and external, all these messages we get about even something that might seem as innocuous as, abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. Okay, so if you're saying if I need an abortion, then, it's not rare. So there are lots of things that contribute to external stigma. Shame due to religion, culture, politics, family life, etc. That's going to shape how you might feel about your abortion. Again, the circumstances surrounding the pregnancy, whether it was planned or unplanned, the fetal health, the pregnant person's health, the relationship with their partner and their support systems, their home environment, all these things that are surrounding the pregnancy are going to contribute to the way somebody might feel about having to end it. Systemic oppression is huge. It's a whole other discussion, but those who, Black and Brown people, especially LGBTQ folks, the disabled community, people who live at the intersection of different marginalized identities are going to have a harder time accessing abortion. They may be more likely to have an unplanned pregnancy in the first place. And so that's definitely a major player. And then your abortion experience. Again, did you need to take time off work? Did you need to hide it from people? Did you have to walk through clinic protesters? Were there barriers to your care? Did you have trouble paying for it? Do you not have any support systems? So all of these things are going to influence how someone might feel about their abortion. And again, every abortion experience is unique, just like every human is unique. So how are abortion patients unique among those whose pregnancies have ended? I'm not here to play the pain Olympics. Anytime, if somebody has a miscarriage or a stillbirth and it's especially if it's a wanted pregnancy, it's devastating. And at the same time, patients who have abortions, there are some nuances to that that you don't find with other types of pregnancy endings. So the biggest one is disenfranchised grief, which describes losses that go against our society's rules of who and what is worthy of mourning. I dealt with this a lot. Sometimes I still do. I felt like I wasn't really worthy of grieving this baby because I made a decision to end my pregnancy. And I know that that's not true. But we do see a lot of disenfranchised grief, and especially with people who have an abortion. They have an unplanned pregnancy. They want to have an abortion. They don't want to have a baby. They have the abortion and then feel that they have some surprise feelings of sadness or anxiety. And we have been told by society that, well, you don't get to be sad about that. So that's hard. That's hard to process. Less societal support goes with that. Unfortunately, I lost friends when I had an abortion, which was tough. It was really tough. I've come through it and realized that, okay, those weren't the type of supportive people that I needed in my life. but that was hard to go through. So again, with the stigma and shame, both internal and external, there is stigma and shame that comes with other types of pregnancy loss, for sure. Abortion just has a little something extra on it. Again, not here to play the Pain Olympics. Stereotypes regarding who has abortions. I am guilty of this. When we first got the news that there might be something wrong with our pregnancy, I said, well, I'm not going to have an abortion. I'm not going to have an abortion. I'm married. I'm trying to have a baby. And then when we got all the rest of the information, I said, I need an abortion. But grappling with those stereotypes and realizing that lots of different people have abortions. Many people who have abortions are already parents, or trying to become parents. And so there's those stereotypes that we have to grapple with. The isolation and loneliness. Again, this goes with any kind of pregnancy loss, but there is a little extra nuance to having an abortion. Barriers such as cost, availability, access. For example, my OBGYN practice, if I was accidentally pregnant and went and wanted to get an abortion, they don't do them there. They would refer me to Planned Parenthood. However, if I were 8 weeks pregnant and having a miscarriage, they would do a DNC, which is the same thing. And so what does that tell us, right? That if I want to end my pregnancy, if I want to have an abortion, you won't do it, but you'll do the exact same procedure if I'm having a miscarriage. That's an access issue that's contributing to that stigma and shame. There are plenty of times where a patient's insurance will not cover what they call an elective abortion. I hate that word. I know what it means in medical land, but I hate that word. Their insurance won't cover an elective abortion, but they'll cover treating a miscarriage. And then there's that last, making a decision versus a miscarriage or stillbirth, which is something out of our control. So feeling like we have made this decision, and whatever feelings we have about it, we have to live with it, or we deserve these negative feelings if there are negative feelings. It's just a little something extra that can weigh on somebody. And the fact that many abortion patients do not feel safe talking about and processing their feelings. This is huge. It took a long time for me to be comfortable with telling people that, yes, I had an abortion, because I didn't know how people were going to react. I didn't feel safe telling people, and certainly not telling people about the more complicated feelings I had beyond just losing a pregnancy. So why might abortion patients need mental health support? Contradictory feelings are very common and challenging to process, and your feelings and emotions might be different than expected. You might find yourself pregnant. Great, I'm going to go have an abortion. You get your pills, you have your medication abortion at home. You think you're going to feel great. And then a couple of weeks later, it turns out that you are really sad. That's fine. That's okay. That's valid. That's normal. We're humans. We have a lot of different feelings. But it's difficult for us to grapple with feeling two seemingly contradictory feelings at the same time. Honestly, my therapist, this changed my life when the power of and, right? I am feeling sad and I'm feeling relief. And I did grapple with that. I was devastated after my abortion, and I was relieved. I was relieved that I had the ability to make that choice. I was relieved that I wouldn't have to sit around and wait to possibly have a stillborn baby or birth a baby that would die shortly after birth. There were a lot of contradictory feelings. And that's hard. That's really hard. Abortion overwhelmingly does not cause long-term distress. And this is one of the things that they showed in the Turnaway study. But it can still be a difficult experience, especially if you have barriers, if you're trying to figure out how to pay for it, if you're trying to figure out when you can do it, if you don't have good support systems. Even if you do have support systems and you have the ability to pay for it, and getting the abortion done is pretty seamless, it can be a big life event. It's not for everybody. It is for others. And so, it can be difficult, and that's why we need support. This is a big one. Fear of betraying the pro-choice cause by having complicated feelings about your abortion. And you see this a lot with gender affirming care as well, where people will get gender affirming care, go through a transition, and have some feelings of loss about their previous, their pre-transition self. That doesn't mean, if I have an abortion and I'm sad, I was devastated. That doesn't mean that I regret it. It doesn't mean that I think abortion's wrong. It doesn't mean anything other than it made me sad. But it's hard to bring that up because a lot of anti-abortion people will jump on that. If you say my abortion experience was traumatic, they'll jump on it and say, see, abortion's traumatic. Remember, abortion is not inherently anything. I say my abortion experience was traumatic. There were a lot of things that shaped why it was traumatic for me. And none of them had to do with the actual abortion. Internalized stigma and shame, once again. And then coping with external factors, your family life, your finances, systemic oppression, obviously. Did you go through your abortion and now did you have to take out a loan? Did you have to borrow money? Did you have to take time off work? There's just a lot of things that go on in our lives that are going to shape how something like an abortion might impact us. Termination of a wanted pregnancy. This is sort of a unique subsection of abortions, and one I have experience with. Especially I'd gone through infertility treatments. I have polycystic ovary syndrome. So it was very difficult to get pregnant. And we finally got pregnant and then taken away. So I needed a lot of support. And I'm grateful that I was able to get that. Your physical symptoms post-abortion can be challenging and unexpected. My milk came in. I was 16 weeks when I had my abortion, and my milk came in afterward. They told me that might happen, so I was a little bit prepared for it, but it was insult to injury, honestly. I remember sitting there wearing 2 sports bras with ice packs shoved in them, trying to, and oh my God. And just feeling like so angry at my body. What is wrong with you? Don't you know there's no baby? And that anger that I felt was palpable and very influenced by the hormone swings. I'm not a doctor. I don't know, exactly when this might happen. I know that the earlier on in your pregnancy, if you have a 6-week abortion, you are probably not going to have milk come in, versus if you're, farther along. But there are definitely hormone swings that come after an abortion. And anyone who has had either an abortion or gone through birth knows that hormones are the devil. They are the worst, and they make feelings and emotions seem even more intense. And so that can be scary. It really can be scary. And again, we're going to go back to this point that the circumstances surrounding an abortion may be traumatic, even if abortion itself is not inherently traumatic. So we definitely want to keep those things separate, because they are. So what might post-abortion mental health support look like? Holding space for and validating all feelings without judgment or prejudice. I know that this is kind of therapist 101, is that, no judgment, no prejudice. But it's true. And having my feelings validated was huge. The therapist that I was seeing at the time, not great. And I'm just sort of realizing now with a better therapist what I was missing. But one thing she did do was validate my feelings. Respect for belief systems, religious, social, cultural, political. It's easy to say, If somebody is feeling, well, I grew up Catholic and this is against my faith, it would be easy for someone to say, well, you know what, the Catholic Church, they don't know anything. Well, we want to have respect for the belief systems that somebody might have grown up with and that they might still be in. There are ways to validate feelings without attacking somebody's belief systems. We want to show assurance that justification for an abortion is not necessary. Again, this is something that I still struggle with, is sharing, that like I had to have an abortion, and talking about all the different things that were wrong with the pregnancy. But at the end of the day, if you want to have an abortion, if you need to have an abortion, that's it. That's the only thing that matters, and it doesn't matter why. So we want to assure patients that justification is not necessary. We want to have an appreciation for autonomy. Abortion access is really beyond just needing to end a pregnancy. It's about the value of our autonomy, and our ability to make decisions that benefit our lives and to make decisions that allow us to live our lives freely and fully. And so appreciating and helping the abortion patient appreciate their autonomy and what that meant for them, I think that's huge. Following the patient's lead in how they refer to or discuss their abortion. Some people are not comfortable using the word abortion. I wasn't at first. And while I do believe that, abortion's not a dirty word, and I think that we collectively should get more comfortable using it, we want to follow the patient's lead in how they refer to or discuss it. A discussion of who has abortions. Again, I was like, I'm not getting an abortion. I'm married. I'm trying to have a baby. Like what? So there, every different type of person there is out there, there's a person who could get an abortion. People who get abortions are Black, white, disabled, married, single, young, older. Every kind of person is somebody who could have an abortion. And so understanding that we're not just in, it's not in a vacuum. It really, anybody could. Want to have pro-abortion support. And when I say pro-abortion, I don't mean that I think everybody who gets pregnant should have an abortion. It means that abortion is healthcare. It is not political. And I'm pro-healthcare, therefore I'm pro-abortion. I'm pro-appendectomy. I'm pro-root canal. Do I necessarily want to be in a position where I need a root canal? No. But if I need one, I want it to be accessible to me. And that's what I mean when I say pro-abortion. If you need it, I want it to be accessible to you. And so we want to be aware of that and really try to have that frame of that abortion is healthcare and we are pro-healthcare. Therefore, we are pro-abortion. Normalizing abortion. Abortion is so normal. It is so common. They estimate 1 in 4 people who can become pregnant over their lifetime will have an abortion. That is a very large number. And so it's people have been having abortions since the beginning of time, and we will continue having abortions. It is a very, very normal and common piece of healthcare. Referral to support groups. I joined after my abortion an online support group called Ending Unwanted Pregnancy, which is for people who have had to end a wanted pregnancy. And it was amazing because while I knew rationally that, yes, there are people who have had to terminate a pregnancy that they wanted, I didn't know anybody I barely even knew anybody who had an abortion in the first place. And so to be able to connect with these people who had gone through what I had gone through was pretty incredible. And I made friends in there that I am still close with to this day. And it was a really great source of support and really helped with my healing process. And we want to remind patients to put their own oxygen mask on first. Working through what may be a difficult life experience, even if it's not traumatic, even if it's not particularly invasive in your life, we want to encourage patients to show themselves some grace and to take care of themselves. a lot of these feelings can be difficult to process. The experience can be difficult to process. And so we just want to make sure that everyone's having patience with themselves and giving themselves grace. So what can, I know not all of you are mental health professionals. So what can really anybody do now? I encourage people to confront their own biases and misunderstandings about abortion and ask yourself, what do you know about abortion? What do you want to know about abortion? Depending on who you talk to, abortion can, especially in the news with mifepristone, and the way that anti-abortion people talk about it, like it's rat poison, like you take it in your body and it just wreaks havoc all over your entire system. It's a progesterone blocker. That's all. That's all it is. So really understanding facts about abortion, what happens during an abortion, who gets abortions, and really understanding how common and normal it is, I think is something a lot of people, and I'm still learning more and more every day. But I think that that's something we can all do for ourselves, is to just continue learning. Keeping an open mind about the trauma lens. Again, abortion is not inherently traumatic. When I was seeing my prior therapist right after my abortion, we did a lot of grief work. And even if she had brought up that, this may have been a traumatic experience for you, I would have gone right to that fear of betraying the pro-choice cause and said, no, it wasn't traumatic. It wasn't traumatic, especially because I was so lucky. It was pretty seamless process for me. So I feel like I couldn't say that it was traumatic. But at the end of the day, it was trauma. It was a pregnancy loss. We'd gone through infertility. My abortion was the day after the 2016 election. So that was an extra little, that was a great week. All these little things add up, and it was a traumatic experience for me. And it really wasn't until recently that I was able to accept that and start to process the trauma of it. And I still struggle with, knowing that abortion is not inherently traumatic. So when I say keep an open mind about the trauma lens, just to really look at the patient and their circumstances and what's going on with them, and does this experience appear to be a traumatic one? So assure patients that they are not alone and offer peer support systems. There are a lot of really great online support groups. I know Jen has a whole list. What can be tricky, and I felt this way, which is why I was so excited to find Ending Unwanted Pregnancy, is that I felt like I couldn't join any support groups for pregnancy loss because, with miscarriage or stillbirth, because of, the fact that I had an abortion. I made this decision. And so to find specific support groups for, terminating unwanted pregnancy was big. And we want to ask patients, what do you need? And be prepared to follow up with outside resources. So in summary, abortion is normal, it is common, and it is not inherently sad or traumatic. It is our circumstances that may make our experience with abortion sad or traumatic. And honestly, there are some people that have their abortion and never think about it again. We're all different, and we all deal with different life experiences in different ways. And none of them are wrong. They're all valid. Those who have complicated feelings about their abortion often do not feel safe talking about and processing those feelings, which is why, even if we're not a mental health provider, if there are people in our lives who have an abortion, we want to show them with our words and with our actions that we are a safe place to talk to about and process feelings like that. Each abortion patient's story is unique and valid. That's why you can't legislate abortion, because there are infinite reasons, there are infinite circumstances there about why somebody might need an abortion. And so it's just not something that can be legislated or should be legislated. Needing mental health support after abortion usually does not stem from regret. And that goes back to that quote from the beginning that I love. Most people do not feel regret over their decision. They're not questioning their decision. They're just trying to figure out how to place that. And, especially if it was unexpected, which I would say most abortions are. Either you're not planning on getting pregnant, or you're planning on getting pregnant, but you're not planning on there's being something wrong with the pregnancy. So it's really about understanding how to fit that within our life narrative. And then finally, from Renee Bracy Sherman, who is wonderful. She's the executive director and the founder of an organization called We Testify, which is dedicated to abortion storytelling. Everyone loves someone who had an abortion, which is true. And if you think you don't, then you probably they don't feel safe enough to tell you. But it's true. Everyone does love someone who had an abortion. With 25% of people who can get pregnant having an abortion in their lifetime, the odds are very high. And that is what I have. So I would, if people have questions, I would love to try to answer them the best I can.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for, please jot down. Well, you don't really need to jot down, because I think tomorrow morning when I send out the recording as well as the resources, Jess, if you send me the slides, we can put that in a PDF format, and then you'll have Jess's contact. Thank you, Jess. If you want, you can stop the share. Just incredible. And I think, I'm a little bit emotional, and I think that's because I love what you're saying. Abortion is not inherently sad or traumatic, but I think, as you're saying, the circumstances, and look at our circumstances. So I guess I feel emotional and sad because of the stigma and the shame that you talked about, that I feel like is so, it's just permeating the circumstance for so many people who are seeking abortion or have experienced abortion. And so you are just incredible in helping us to learn more. Thank you for inviting me. I will be learning more. I want to be more comfortable. I've been a pro-choice advocate for many, many years. And Annie, weren't you and I together? I think I was pregnant with, was it you and I? No, I know who it was. It was Representative Jillian Gilchrist. When we were in social work school together, we were marching on Washington, and I was pregnant out to here. But I still have so much more to learn. So thank you. I want to open it up to anyone for questions. And I would love to talk, if it doesn't come up from someone else, about abortion doulas. Thanks, Annie. Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Jessica. Jess, that was so awesome. I'm so passionate about this and really feel so privileged and honored to be here. Thank you for sharing your story, especially. It's interesting. I'm sitting here having like a lot of feelings because I'm aware I had an abortion when I was 26, not the same story as you, unwanted pregnancy, right? But it's still hard for me to talk about it. And I'm almost 43 years old. I've had the privilege of walking hand in hand with many clients who are making these decisions for various reasons or coming to me after the decision. And there's one place where I will always self-disclose that to them, because I think it's so hard. My own abortion, not the story, obviously, but the fact that I have walked through at least part of that with, alongside, because I think there's so much shame, internal and external. And I too lost friends, lost a relationship, lost a work colleague that was important to me, just so much around that particular story. So thank you for sharing your story and for offering, so many important points, especially if we're pro-choice, how hard it is to feel all the feelings and feel allowed to align with the pro-choice movement. There needs to be more forums for all of this to be true. So I used to work at Wesleyan as a therapist in the counseling center there, and had the honor of knowing about something called the Doula Project at Wesleyan, which is not just for Wesleyan students, but for folks throughout the state of Connecticut. And they I just Googled it because I wanted to make sure it still exists. It's been a few years since I've been there, and it looks like it's very active. But it's a student-based group, and they're well trained of students there who are abortion doulas. They will go to the appointments with clients, sit in the waiting room with them, with folks who are getting abortions, be there afterward, transport them if need be, give them a care package afterward. And it's just a really wonderful resource of incredible young people who do this for folks seeking abortions in Connecticut, and it's free. So I can put the email address for that in the chat if anybody has a client or a patient or a friend or themselves seeking that service.
Yeah, abortion doulas are fantastic. We have someone on our board of directors who is a full spectrum doula. So she has done birth and abortions. And abortion doulas, they're not doctors, they're not medical professionals, but they're there for whatever kind of support. There are some abortion doulas who will do everything from come to your house and cook you dinner and get you your heating pad. And, they're familiar enough with abortion where they can say, you know what, all right, no, look, the amount of bleeding you're having is normal, or this is not looking so normal. Maybe we should call your provider. They're really just there to assist in however somebody might need it. Maybe it's just a ride to the clinic. Maybe it's a little bit more in depth than that. But yeah, the Wesleyan Doula Project they're fantastic. We do work alongside them. And there are ways, there are online trainings for people who want to become an abortion doula. And I can add the link to some of those resources on the resource list I'm going to send Jen later.
Thank you.
Others. I think we're all processing, aren't we? Livia says there's also many abortion doulas who will offer virtual support as well.
I want to say hi to Livia. Livia is on our board of directors.
Hi, Livia.
And she is training to become an abortion doula as well.
Oh my gosh, wonderful. Yeah. Thank you.
We're very proud of her.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So great to be here, and just so excited to be supporting Jess in this moment. So thanks for holding space for her.
Thank you so much for being here. I was saying to Jess earlier, I really, gosh, this could be like full-time work, right? A number of us would love to just be able to work to build the coalition in Connecticut so that all of us, could work together more closely, all of our small, volunteer-led groups, Tiny Miracles, Hope After Loss, the Reach Fund of Connecticut, PSI chapter, all of us could be working together more, and be more connected. But this is a great, great start. Again, I'm so thankful to Carolyn for connecting us. This is a wonderful start to partnership and, cross communication. It's just so important. When I met Jess, I was just, and I was going through a lot of emotions, too. And I was like, this is unbelievable. This is incredible. Gosh, I wish I was a multimillionaire. I would not have like a massive home, but I would love to just give money to important causes. Wouldn't that be fun? That's the only reason I want to be rich. Exactly. Oh gosh.
But
Okay,
I just want to say one final thing is that I appreciate you inviting me here today, because it is sometimes hard for us to remember that postpartum does include post-abortion, right? Postpartum means
Right,
post-pregnancy.
thank
And if you've had an
you.
abortion, you are post-pregnancy. And thank you, Erin, for posting that information about, you know, an average when milk production can start. You know, there are definitely, no matter where you are in your pregnancy, there are definite physical things that can happen to you while you're pregnant, after your abortion. And I think that bringing in people who've had abortions under that postpartum umbrella and including them is only beneficial because it reduces that stigma, right? We don't want to other people who have had abortions. They're not other, they're us. We are them. And I just think the most important thing to do is to hold space for people and whatever they're feeling, and know that feelings come and go. Feelings can happen at the same time. And that can be difficult, and that's okay. So.
Thank you.
I would have been a therapist in another life, but
You would.
I am a
great.
professional therapy patient. So
Carolyn.
Hi, guys. I know we are getting ready to wrap up, but I couldn't let this moment go by without thanking you, Jess, for showing up and sharing so vulnerably with us. And I'm so glad that you and Jen connected. I knew you guys were going to hit it off. You know, when the decision came down last year, we felt so compelled to reach out to the Reach Fund and to connect with you all and to work with you all. And one of the adages that keeps on coming back to me is one of the biggest predictors of whether someone experiences trauma in the long run is how well they are cared for in the aftermath of their experience. And whether or not you have had an abortion, or no matter what kind of work that you are doing and how you're meeting the perinatal community, there's still so much that we can do, whether just holding space for someone or meeting them where they are at without judgment. It really goes a long way. So thank you.
Yes,
it does
yes.
go a long way for sure. And thank you again for you know, the work you've done with us. And I do want to also say that Reach, and aside from funding abortion, we also do a lot of community education work. We've talked to congregations and schools and other community organizations about abortion, what abortion is, how it works, you know, the landscape of abortion access here in Connecticut and through the country. So if anyone is interested in having Reach come and talk to your, you know, your practice, your organization, we are happy to do that. We come with really great stickers. But a huge part of our work is not just funding abortion, but dispelling misinformation and working to eliminate stigma and shame when it comes to this. Because at the end of the day, it is healthcare. That is what it is. It's healthcare. And we should never be made to feel shamed for taking care of ourselves and what we need.
Thank you.
So you can find, there's a contact form on our website, or Jen can send out my email. That's fine. If anybody is ever interested, we have board members all over the state. If we want to do something in person, we do virtual. We really feel strongly about the education aspect.
That's wonderful. I did not realize that. Thank you. Jill, was there anything you wanted to say?
First of all, Jess, thank you so much. And I had a termination for medical reasons 34 years ago. And the due date for that wanted baby is coming up on May 18th. And so, you know, I don't often get the opportunity to hear someone else speak. And so it was very meaningful to me. And I, you know, just want to say that it's 34 years later, and, you know, it is present for me, especially the month I did terminate, and the due date. I never miss that. And ours was also a genetic complication and turned into a 25% chance every time I was pregnant of the genetic abnormality, which, you know, the baby could not have survived after birth. So, and I do want to share that my termination was in a very well-known New York hospital in the city, and I felt tremendous judgment by the nurses and the staff, who, you know, I could just feel that they did not, you know, agree or respect. Not that I needed that, but they almost shunned me. So I just wanted to share that perspective from, you know, a longer time back for everybody.
Thank you. And I'm so sorry for your loss. And you did deserve their respect. You know, you were their patient, and you deserved respect. And I'm sorry that that you didn't get that with your experience. The due date for that pregnancy that we terminated was the other day, actually. And so my abortion was November 9th, 2016, and my son was born November 8th, 2017 at 9:30 at night, because I was induced for high blood pressure. And I said, no, I cannot have this baby on the 9th. I have to get past the 9th. And so, which spun off a whole like traumatic C-section birth, everything. But yeah, it sticks with us. And so, you know, thank you for sharing that. And I am sorry for your loss.
Thank you for doing what you did today.
Yeah. Thanks, Jill. I know some folks had to go, maybe have 1 o'clock meetings and so forth. I did put that this evening there's a storytelling event happening with Cherished Mom as well as Moth to honor Postpartum Psychosis Awareness Day. I will be putting more links in tomorrow's wrap up. I didn't get a chance to screen share, but I do want, well, I do want to screen share very briefly if I can. And I know if you have to jump off, that's okay. But I do want to let you know that PSI, which has now, gosh, like 35 free online support groups happening every week. So it's a big, long list. So when you're looking for support groups, for yourself and for others, you got to sort of, you know, go through and look. But I do want to point out the pregnancy, infant loss, and fertility challenges support groups. And here's a big long list. And then there is also one specific post-abortion support. And it, you know, I am definitely grappling with what you were saying, Jess, about like, you know, perinatal loss, and then like, you know, perinatal loss support group, and then like post-abortion support group, and like why, you know, that's not blended, you know, but there is a specific group. So that is very, very good to know. And Jess is going to be sharing some resources with me, and I will then share them with you. So thank you all for being here so much. I think this was a really wonderful community event, and we will be here together again June 2nd with Danielle Freeman, IBCLC RN, who's going to talk about diversity in lactation. Erin and Jennifer probably know, well, I know Erin knows Danielle, and Jennifer, you probably do as well. And so come next month so you can see Danielle. May 20th, if you want to join me for wine tasting at Jennifer Badeau's house, that is going to be around 11 o'clock with some brunch items, and it's in Marlborough, Connecticut. Okay, so I'll be sending information about that. That's at Jenny's house. Thanks everyone so much for being here.